Hey, Allie, it's Julia. Who's in base building? It's Rabia. If you're like, who's that Pokemon?
Are we being recorded right now? Oh yeah, we're totally being recorded right now.
Oh yeah. Hello.
Can I pause that, or do you need it for streaming?
We're not streaming.
Okay, can I pause the recording?
Yes.
Okay.
Greetings and good evening. My name is Lijia Mejia. I am one of two co-directors for Center for Popular Democracy. Thank you for joining for this organizing call. Para mis compañeros que hablan español, bienvenidos. Mi nombre es Ana Lilia Mejía. Soy una de las co-directoras del Centro para Democracia Popular, conocido como CPD. Le damos la bienvenida y le quiero dejar saber que vamos a tener traducción durante esta junta. Quiero presentarles a mi compañero Luis López. Luis, ¿nos puede dar cualquier instrucción que nuestros compañeros necesitan para la traducción? Ok, well, maybe yo la doy. So, otra vez, bienvenidos a todos. Para usar la función de interpretación, perdónenme, hay que hacer clic en el globo en la parte inferior de la pantalla o de su computadora y elegir su idioma. Y si está utilizando un smartphone, su teléfono o una tableta, puede hacer clic en la señal que dice más y puede buscar español en interpretación de idiomas. Y por favor, no se le olvide a presionar Done, D-O-N-E, para que pueda ser utilizado. So again, thank you and welcome. We have today's organizing call is obviously focused on the movements that we are seeing related to the Supreme Court, specifically around Roe versus Wade and the right to privacy. We want to have a discussion with various leaders about how this extends broadly to other civil liberties and want to get right to work. As I've shared, my name's Ana Lilia Mejia, and I'd share with all of you that I, like many other human beings in our country, have had an abortion and was glad that I had the right to make decisions on my own body. In fact, I feel that all of the things that I've been able to do in this life, whether it's achievements with my fellow organizers or having the opportunity to raise two beautiful children, I would not have had if I didn't have the right to make decisions for myself, my own health, my own family, and most certainly my own body. And all of that is at risk, and we have to be both informed and mobilized to take action. So we know that throughout the Trump era, Republicans worked really hard to make the federal judiciary essentially an extension of their party. And for 4 years, CPDA and our allies, like all of you, everything we could to fight back. We led over a month of daily protests in DC. We worked diligently to try to stop the confirmation of Brett Kavanaugh. We opposed toxic circuit court picks like Steve Menashe, and we interrupted the Federalist Society's annual dinner. Everything we did was in an effort to protect democracy. We know that the actions that were taken by the Trump era, the Trump administration, and very broadly the Republicans has been in the opposite. So we continue to organize and we continue to build in community. And now this is a moment in which we need to rise up together and make the sweeping changes that our system needs. Now, we know that the leaked SCOTUS opinion overturning or proposing to overturn Roe versus Wade is a devastating blow for our freedoms, specifically concerning our bodily autonomy. We know that these attacks on abortion harm communities of color and poor people the most. Those who can afford, let's be clear, those who can afford to travel to get the necessary medical care that they need and deserve will be able to do so. Those who cannot, however, are going to be left at the mercy of systems that neither see nor care for our well-being. Now, we know that history has shown us that reproductive control is a long-standing tactic utilized to uphold and enforce white supremacy. And there's no gender equality without reproductive freedom and the right to choose our own futures. So I cannot overstate what is at stake at this very moment. So what we do next on court reform will really determine what justice will look like in this country for generations. The Supreme Court's decisions are especially crucial for protecting the rights and freedoms of the most vulnerable, communities of color, low-income communities, immigrants, LGBTQ people, and more and more. We must seize the moment to transform our judiciary, and we must wrest it free from the right-wing extremism, and that's right, it is right-wing extremism, and fight to establish the highest court of the land is an institution that protects all people. So that's enough hearing from me. I know that you're fired up to learn more about exactly what's going on and what we can do together. So I'm happy to first introduce Tristan Brown, who is the Policy and Program Director at the People's Parity Project. Prior to going to the policy and prior to joining as PPP's Policy and Program Director, Tristan was an associate counsel at the Washington's Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights and Urban Affairs. She's a graduate summa cum laude from Florida A&M. I don't know, I'm having a hard time with words today, Tristan. I'm sure you won't. But congratulations to you on that. And we're glad to have your expertise. And as I understand, you're also an adjunct professor at Florida State University College of Law. So I want to welcome Tristan to give us a level set on what exactly we're seeing and what's at risk.
Well, thank you for that introduction, and thank you all so much for allowing me to be in community with you here tonight. I know it's been quite the week, but I'm Tristan Brown, and as was already stated, I'm the Policy and Program Director at the People's Parity Project, which is just a national network of lawyers and law students committed to unrigging the law. And make no mistake, we are here in this moment because of lawyers, far-right lawyers who have organized for the last 50 years to see the day where we don't have autonomy over our own bodies, the autonomy to determine our futures for ourselves, lawyers who have and continue to use legal jargon and puzzles to try to tell us that we're overreacting, that what's happening isn't happening, lawyers who recognize the gravity of the moment we're in, but who have chosen and continue to choose to passively sit on the sidelines, and obviously lawyers on the Supreme Court hiding behind the veil of neutrality who expect us to accept this and move on. So we should all be fired up and ready to do whatever it takes to make sure that this horrific draft remains nothing more than just that, a draft. And I want to particularly challenge every lawyer and law student and everybody on this call to do your part in organizing to help us get out of this mess. In the draft opinion, Justice Alito very clearly lays out the framework for unenumerated rights that aren't deeply rooted in history, AKA deeply rooted in racism and sexism, to be challenged in court and subject to reversal. This is only the beginning. The same way the right to have an abortion is on the chopping block is the same way our rights to contraception, gay marriage, sexual privacy, interracial marriage, and so much more can also be seen potentially on the docket moving forward. So we can't get comfortable. We cannot accept that this is the new norm or our reality. They want us to be despondent and to wallow in despair and defeat. But history has shown us, right, that it's in these moments that the most radical change comes about. So we have to organize. We have to require the members who represent us to act and to act now. As soon as that draft opinion leaked, every member of Congress who says they're pro-choice should have immediately signed on to co-sponsor the Judiciary Act to immediately add 4 seats to the court. But that unsurprisingly wasn't the case. And so we have to keep our foot on their necks and demand that they not only abolish the filibuster and pass the Women's Health Protection Act to codify Roe into law, but that they also expand the court, because simply abolishing the filibuster to pass WIPA is not going to be enough. You know, as I stated before, other unenumerated rights are very well going to be subject to being challenged, and we can't keep doing this dance where we're going back to Congress to try to codify everything. We have to expand the court and restore some balance to the Supreme Court. So that's all I have to say. I don't want to take up too much time, but thank you so much for inviting me, and let's get to work.
Thank you, Tristan. And I believe in the chat, we had a couple questions as to how law students or those who are in the legal profession can perhaps provide support. If you can include in the chat some responses that everyone could see, maybe we could get some answers out there. Thank you again, and glad to hear you as fired up as we all are. Now I'd like to introduce Naomi Randolph Hunu, forgive me, Naomi. Naomi is a community alchemist and midwife for change. She's currently serving as a senior advisor for Action North Carolina, and she's also the founder of I Am Worthy Enterprises. I know that's right, an organization designed to celebrate, educate, heal, and affirm women of the African diaspora. And she strongly believes that restoring the practices and wisdoms of Indigenous cultures will transform individuals and communities. Naomi, I want to welcome you again. We've shared space before. Please share with us what folks organized here should be thinking about as we continue to fight against this egregious assault on our civil liberties.
Hello, Lijia, thank you so much. And to our CPD family, thank you for creating this space. And I'm grateful to be standing in solidarity with good folk all over the country in this evening in defense of Roe v. Wade and in defense of reproductive rights. I am Naomi Randolph with Action NC, and I have the great pleasure of directing our race and gender equity program called RAGE. Imagine that. We feel some rage these days, right? You know, North Carolina is not a state where the trigger law would go into effect. So we do have a little bit of safekeeping and gatekeeping if abortion is banned federally. However, what we also know is that many of our Southern friends, right? We look at Mississippi, we look at Texas, we look at what's happening in South Carolina as well. And we know that it's all these things are really a stone's throw away. We hope that we want to continue to hold the line in North Carolina so we can be a safe haven for folk if the need comes, right? If there's a need for that service, for people to cross state lines to seek reproductive justice or to seek abortions. What we also know is that we worked really hard as a community in solidarity to ensure the confirmation of Ketanji Brown Jackson. Folks all over this country, folks on this call worked really hard. And even after that historic confirmation, we still look at a court that held a 6-3 in favor of conservatism. That's just not acceptable. It's just not acceptable. And so as we are in the midterm season, as we are making sure that we are getting folks clear about voting, that we have to and continue to push for the expansion of the Supreme Court. There is no other way around that. You know, our elders would say the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over and over again and expect a different result. We have to expand the court to ensure that we have a different result in this case. The damage done to the court by previous administrations, there are many, probably too many to name. There's a top 3 for us, right? Is creating terror for the public right now. We have been placed in a situation where judges appointed by presidents who did not win the popular vote are in a position to ignore decades of legal precedent and really essentially take away our legal rights. So we sit at a crossroads right now, all over the country. Each and every state sits at a crossroads. We're facing an attack on democracy. And what we know here in North Carolina is that people in this season have to ensure that their voices are made clear and amplified with their state electeds and also our federal elected folks. We have to make sure that the wins that we have had in North Carolina, specifically around redistricting, that we take advantage, that we leverage those wins, and we ensure that we get to the polls in this midterm section. We know that the folks who are going to be mostly impacted or most deeply impacted are going to be marginalized communities, are going to be communities that are already suffering, communities that are already facing gaps in pay, people who are making less than $15 in the state of North Carolina. We know that these are going to be the communities that are deeply impacted if Roe v. Wade is banned. And we know that in order for that not to happen, we have the responsibility to hold the line. We have the responsibility to be ambassadors to all the good folk we know and make sure that they get to the polls, to make sure that they vote, and to make sure that we continue to push for the expansion of the courts. We stand in solidarity with all our brothers and sisters here, all our good folk here, and we hope that, and we believe, just as we had victory with KBJ, that we can have victory as well in this instance. Thank you so much for allowing some space for our voice tonight.
Thank you so much, Naomi. I just want to uplift the work that you're doing on the ground, and just thank you for both you and Tristan for the hard work that y'all are doing. I also want to acknowledge in the chat, folks dropping in information about concerns about this is just the beginning, what can come next. We are clear that this is just the beginning, that this, especially the way the opinion is written, it's just ripe for coming after many of the rights and right to privacy that we have fought hard for, and we have to denounce and we have to keep organizing. So now I'd like to introduce another fellow good troublemaker, Erin Jackson-Hill, the executive director of Stand Up Alaska. I think in the dictionary, almost most certainly, when you look at good troublemaking, I am almost certain Erin Jackson-Hill's face is right next to that, to that definition, along with Naomi and many of you all. Erin is a lifelong Alaskan residing on unceded Dina Aina land. She is a founder of one of the only female BIPOC-led social justice organizations in the state. And prior to establishing Stand Up Alaska, Erin worked with a wide variety of local nonprofits, coordinating fundraising through charitable gaming proceeds, and has over 30 years of experience in advocacy. Plus, I know they run an incredible program calling people out in all ways and forms, including creative lights. So Erin, thank you for joining us, and please talk to us about what we're ready to do.
Okay, I'm gonna fess up right away. I just lost my notes, like they just disappeared.
It's okay.
So I'm gonna wing this. So thank you so much, Anna Lijia. It is such a pleasure to be amongst so many wonderful people, so many strong women. This is what gives me hope. This is what keeps me going. So I just want everybody to take a breath and center yourself. And if you're on camera, look at all the folks that are on this call. This is our posse, man. These are the people that are going to get it done, right? So yes, my name is Erin Jackson-Hill, and I come from the beautiful, if very conservative state of Alaska. And there are so many reasons why I'm here, but I'm just going to start with the top one because that's what comes to mind, and that is I am angry. I am pissed. And most of all, I'm angry at our elected leaders that aren't listening to their constituents, right? We know over 70%, I know over 70% of Alaskans believe in a right to a free and legal abortion. And if you change the frame of that actual question and you change it to a right to privacy question, that number skyrockets, right? So we know that this is not a popular decision. This is not the will of the people. And so I guess I feel like my senators, one of them being Lisa Murkowski, have allowed this nightmare to unfold by their support of right-wing ideologues to the Supreme Court. I mean, they have supported these justices that have been on record saying some of the craziest stuff that would have never been accepted in any other framework except for that Mitch McConnell was manipulating the system. And so in the past few days, I've heard things like, I'm deeply troubled and I'm shocked, more times than I care to remember. But this was totally foreseeable. It was told, this is like a foul that you knew was coming. It was spelled out. Trump said what he wanted. He said that he was only going to appoint people that were going to overturn Roe versus Wade. And then you went and voted for his nominations, or I'm sorry, I'm Brett Kavanaugh. I think she voted present. Anyway, so these leaders were okay and on board when Mitch McConnell weaponized the Supreme Court and started to steal seats. They were okay with screwing Merrick Garland over. They were okay with Brett, I like beer Kavanaugh. They were okay with Amy Coney Barrett and her religious fanaticism, which was on record for anybody to see. And they rushed her nomination through. I don't even think RBG was cold. It was kind of, it just shows how cold they are, right? So we need to take that into account, I think. And it doesn't matter how cold they are because I'm really angry. And so I'm ready to get started. And I have chosen, it is a choice that I have to make for myself to fight. I cannot sit back and allow this to happen to my country. And so we have a very specific request for our senators that have allowed this patriarchy not to just survive, but now thrive in this environment. Senator Murkowski has decided not to support the Women's Health Care and Protection Act because she says it's too expansive. That's fine. That's water under the bridge. But if she really cares about women's health, she will grab Senator Collins and she will fix it. I don't know what else to say. You broke the Constitution when you allowed these Supreme Court justices on the court. And so if you really care about women's health, as you stated time after time, year after year, election after election, then you will find a way to fix it. If that means altering the Women's Health Care and Protection Act, then do it. If that means coming up with your own damn bill, then do it. If that means expanding the court, then we'll do it. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, but now. Women's lives are on the line. We are 14 times more likely to die in childbirth than we are from having a perfectly safe and legal abortion. This is about life and death. I don't really care about politics right now. Like, this gets to the heart of who you are as a person and autonomy over your body. I care about human beings. I care about my sisters that are scared. I care about my sisters that are fed up I care about my sisters that are angry. Call your senator, I don't care who they are, and tell them to fix it. Don't wait on your colleagues, which I hear all the time. Well, we're waiting for them to propose a bill. No, no, no. We don't have time for that. It's time for somebody to take the lead, and I would suggest that should be Lisa Murkowski, and fix it. You broke it, now fix it. Draft a bill that codifies Roe versus Wade and fix this mess you created, because we will all remember in November. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And that's right. They broke it. They have to fix it. We have to continue to push. I know that there is going to be continued activism both across the network and through all of the affiliates and partners convened here. I want to introduce a colleague of mine, Roby, who is a national field organizer here at CPD, who's going to talk to us a little bit about what we are seeking to do, and then maybe give us some additional information about what's next. And I believe we also have a video to share. But again, thank you, gracias por su activismo, for your activism. Roby, do you want to take it away?
Yes, absolutely. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you, Ana Lilia. Thank you, Erin. Thank you, Naomi. And thank you, everybody else who shared for really putting things in perspective for us. So hello, everyone. My name is Emirobi, and I am the National Field Organizer at CPD. And I want to thank all of you for joining tonight. And I never want to take for granted your time and your energy. This call is where we gather in community and organize ourselves. We are a multi-issue organization. We work with over 50 local organizations in an ongoing effort to fight for things like climate change, affordable housing, education, criminal justice, immigration, federal advocacy, and many, many other things that we face in our flawed system. Tonight, we are faced with a monumental moment in history, in the history of the Supreme Court, and it must be met with a historically monumental amount of resistance. And as we've heard tonight, we must act now and expand the court. We need to pass the Judiciary Act and abolish the filibuster. The ramifications, which are broad and cruel and devastating, they must be righted. Make no mistake that the end of Roe could mean the end of countless critical, hard-won civil liberties and the right to privacy, which we hold dear. Time and time again, we've seen Democrats use abortion rights as a campaign issue and fail to deliver on their promises to protect and expand reproductive freedom. We deserve leadership that represents the vast majority of Americans who believe abortion should be accessible and affordable to all who require critical healthcare. And we're asking each and one of you tonight to join this fight, to drive the change we want for our communities and generations to come. This is the moment. We not only counter the right-wing court grab, but we go a little bit further. If we stand together, we are on the verge of creating a new court. We're going to start dropping links in the chat right now to sign up to advocate with us for passing the Judiciary Act and end the filibuster. I see a lot of seasoned veterans here. I see Olga, I see Danette, I see a lot of folks that we've been doing this fight for a while. We knew this was coming. We've been preparing for this moment. So I just want everybody to click on that link and join us really right now if you can. And then I know there's some new people who are new to this, who've never experienced this before. And I know that this might be a little bit overwhelming. You're kind of trying to find your place in this. And I assure you, we can help you find your place. And anyone wanting a refresher or anything else, we're gonna make it able for you to join our lobby training. We're gonna walk you through talking points. We're gonna schedule the meetings. And most of it is going to be on Zoom, so you don't even have to leave the comfort of your home. And of course, we'll join in those meetings with you. You know, one of our most powerful tools is our stories, and we want to make sure that your stories are heard in Congress. We also want to be mobilizing in states across the country and in DC. So let us know if you want to take action with us. And of course, we need volunteers. We need people to step up. And if you're able to volunteer and step up from your home and help us phone bank, please let us know. Look in the chat right now. There should be a link to our form. Sign up, and please share with your friends, your family, your sisters, your brothers, everyone. We need to make this big. Now we're going to have some remarks from Representative Mondaire Jones. As a member of the Judiciary Committee, Representative Jones continues his lifelong advocacy for civil rights and civil liberties and strengthening our democracy. CPD Action and Representative Jones have been working together to pass the Judiciary Act, which takes the very critical step of adding 4 seats to the Supreme Court. Now I'm going to pass it. I'm going to have Mondaire speak.
On Monday night, America learned a terrible truth. The Supreme Court's far-right supermajority is about to overrule Roe v. Wade. We have been warning about this for a long time. This dangerous draft opinion spells the end of the fundamental constitutional right to reproductive freedom. If this opinion becomes law, it will have life-changing consequences for millions of Americans trying to make their own healthcare decisions. Black and brown women in particular will shoulder the burden of abortion bans across this country as they face more barriers to access the means and the services to receive the reproductive healthcare that they need. And the court will not stop there. As the draft opinion outlines, the court has clearly set its sights on our other fundamental rights, from the right to marry someone of the same gender to the right to marry someone of a different race. With the court set to release this opinion by the end of June, time is almost up. Thank God we don't have to let this opinion become law. We can restore balance and integrity to the court by expanding it. The Constitution gives Congress the power to change the size of the court, and Congress has used that power 7 times before in our nation's history. And this moment demands that we use that power once again. If we pass the Judiciary Act and add 4 justices to the Supreme Court, we can prevent the far-right supermajority from overruling Roe, but only if we pass it now. I am so grateful to all of you for stepping up to take our message to Capitol Hill. Because the truth is, as I've had this conversation with my colleagues, I've heard a number of misplaced concerns and misunderstandings that I need your help to dispel. First, some of my colleagues say that we don't need to expand the court to save reproductive rights. They'll tell you that by passing the Women's Health Protection Act and codifying Roe, Congress doesn't need to change the Supreme Court. Congress alone can fix it. If only. The truth is, the draft opinion we have in front of us announces the beginning of a judicial campaign to criminalize abortions by insisting that the government has an interest in protecting fetal life, an interest stronger than a woman's interest in privacy, equality, and liberty. This opinion lays the groundwork for judges to strike down any statutes that protect the right to an abortion as being violative of the invented fetal right to life. Second, at least one of my colleagues has suggested that court expansion is unnecessary because the court will save us from itself. He suggested that the very court that is about to uphold Mississippi's abortion ban, the very court that already upheld Texas's abortion ban a few months ago, will strike down state abortion bans and other discriminatory state laws for violating the Establishment Clause in the Constitution, because these laws are enacted on religious grounds. But we know better. Think back to the Muslim ban from 4 years ago. The right held only 5 Supreme Court seats at the time. one right-wing justice, Anthony Kennedy, even cast the occasional swing vote. Yet even that less radical court upheld Donald Trump's Muslim ban. A court that refused to recognize religious discrimination when Trump imposed what he himself called a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States. Will not stop religious discrimination when state legislatures enact abortion bans that the justice's own opinion invites them to enact. The far-right justices are not going to uphold Mississippi's abortion ban now, only to strike it down later on some other grounds. Third, still other members of Congress will try to tell you that the American people aren't ready to restore balance to the court. A senator told me that. In fact, the American people understand the urgency of expanding the court to protect the right to an abortion. In a September poll, 90% of Democrats and 61% of independents agreed with the statement that court expansion is essential to protecting reproductive rights. So the American people need us to act. No wonder the Judiciary Act has over 50 co-sponsors across both chambers, including reproductive rights champions like Representatives Barbara Lee, Diana DeGette, Judy Chu, Jan Schakowsky, and Veronica Escobar, and of course, Senators Tina Smith and Elizabeth Warren. Finally, some members of Congress will ask you, if we expand the court, what if Republicans do it back? Well, what are Republicans going to do? Overrule 50 years of precedent and eliminate the fundamental constitutional right to an abortion? They are already preparing to do that. We've read the draft opinion. That's the point. It doesn't get any worse than this. This objection is like the argument Senator Sinema made earlier this week, that we shouldn't abolish the filibuster to codify Roe because Republicans might later ban abortions. That crisis is here right now. And by the way, it's been here. This is the same Supreme Court that has all but destroyed the Voting Rights Act, the crown jewel of the civil rights movement. If we don't overcome this 6-3 far-right majority, while we still can, nothing else is going to matter. It cannot be our position. It is, in fact, illogical. It would be illogical for us to take the position that we would rather let a stolen court oppress millions of vulnerable Americans than even try to avert that scenario. I know that this week has been hard. I know that you may be feeling scared, sad, or angry. I'm with you. But the court's decision to strike down Roe presents us with a choice. If we do not act, we will be the generation that let the far right eliminate reproductive rights in America. But if we stand up, if we expand the court before it is too late, we will be the generation that renewed the promise of equality, bodily autonomy, and reproductive justice for all. We can do this, but only if we do it together. I'm so honored to stand with you in this vital work. Let's get out there and let's get it done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Representative Jones. Right, so we don't need to return to normal. The Supreme Court's normal has been to legitimize white supremacy and other systems of oppression. Instead, we are calling for a transformed court. We need a court that protects democracy, social justice, equity, and dignity and humanity of all people. So I'm gonna toss it to Ale to speak on some tools for digital and creative.
Hello, everyone. It is both enraging to be here tonight and also completely uplifting after the week of news and actions Our site is currently live. So if you go to .cpdaction.org, you will be able to find our live action page. So yourself and people in your networks can sign up and find other ways to take action to protect Roe privacy rights and ultimately our future. Our landing page also, if you scroll to the bottom, it has resources and PDF downloadables, both in Spanish and English. These resources are meant to give sorry, my notifications are going off. They're meant to give a brief explainer on the situation with Roe, how did we get here, and what could be at stake, as well as to offer insight on ways to take action. So please feel free to download those resources and share widely. I don't think there's anybody who will not be grateful for having that at their hands. So thank you so much for being here. We must remember that Roe is just the beginning. It's the floor, not the ceiling. So let's ready up. We have a long fight ahead of us, but we can definitely do it together. Thank you and good night.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Ellen. Okay, all. A couple more things. So we are going to be holding volunteer phone banks daily starting this Friday. And then we're going to move Monday through Friday next week from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern and 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to drop the link to sign up for those different shifts, excuse me, in the chat. If you all can click on that link now and sign up for the phone bank, I would love for you all to do that. I do remember earlier there were some questions in the chat. I wanted just to make sure that everybody's question got answered. And if you do still have a question, can you post it in the chat now and we can address it right now? Awesome. Julia, do you want to take that action in DC question?
Yeah, sure. Just also a quick note, the phone bank tomorrow is going to be awesome. We're going to call New Yorkers. And then we actually have the ability to transfer them right to Senator Gillibrand's office. She is someone that 100% should have gotten on this bill already, but we're confident that we can quickly get her on. You know, she bills herself as a champion for reproductive rights. So this is the moment for her to take that next step and get on the Judiciary Act. But we're going to jump on Zoom. We'll train you up. We've got a really great script. It's fun. I see Olga and lots of other people on here can attest in the chat that these are fun. And let's get as many calls into her office as we can tomorrow and see if we can, inch her closer to getting on this bill. Yes, let's take action in DC. Everyone knows, I think there's been, masses of people showing up in front of the Supreme Court daily. There's a march on the 14th. We are talking to, Women's March, Ultraviolet, all of these groups running some of the national marches. So stay tuned for more on that. Please feel free to reach out and email me. Let's mobilize in states. Let's think about the trigger states. And we are definitely down to do actions. We're down to bird dog. We're down to phone bank, certainly down to lobby. So, we're really trying to use, like I said, all the tools in our activist toolbox. If you have an idea of something else, like I said, email me, fill out the form, be in touch. We would love to try to make it happen. We will have some folks in DC next week. I know I'll be there. So, if you happen to be in DC for one of the marches and want to try to do an in-person lobbying meeting or something else, just holler and I'll try to get that meeting set up for you. And I'll go with you. Yeah, is it still good to call if you're not a constituent? So what we're actually doing is we're calling constituents and then we're going to forward them to leave voice messages. So we're going to be calling people who live in the state of New York and imploring them. We've got some really good hot lists in New York. So these are people that we believe are already on our side and down with this cause. So we're just going to make it easier for them and we're going to transfer them right to Gillibrand's voicemail so they can leave the voicemail for her. Awesome. I'll kick it back to you, Roby.
Hey, All right, thank you so much, Julia. Thank you so much. All right, all if you all have other questions, you could also email us at innovations@populardemocracy.org. Happy to take your questions on there as well as another resource. I want to thank you all so much for your time tonight. Let's go ahead and continue to sign up for these events, share out these tweets, and let's start getting active right now. Let's do it. And I will see you all soon. Have a good night, everyone.